Hello. I'm going to share a story that happened to me quite a few years ago when I was working at a downtown Toronto hospital in the emergency department. Um, there's a lesson in this that I want you guys to look at, and at the end of the story, we'll analyze it a little more and break it down to ensure that the lesson that I'm trying to share, you guys will sort of look at and maybe do things differently. I was at work in a downtown Toronto hospital. I was in the triage area. It was a busy Friday night. There was a lot of very sick patients in chairs waiting to be seen by triage. Now, triage is a nurse that will evaluate the person in front of them and send them to the areas that they need to go to. If it's very serious, they'll go to an area. If it's not so serious, they'll go to another area. Um, Self explanatory. Um, I was standing there and I'd noticed and I'd heard that this young girl, very well dressed, seemed very articulate because she was yelling in a language that said to me she was very smart, very articulate, very well dressed. Um, she was yelling at the triage nurse and saying, "No, no, I want to be seen right now. No, I could die. I could die." And I was, oh my goodness, okay, what's going on here? And the nurse was, asking her some questions around what's going on with her. And she said, "No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And I like, oh my gosh. So it, of course, caught everybody's attention, my attention. Um, Now, because I've been working in Emerge for quite a few years and because of the training that I've had in the past, if there was any sort of issues with people or problems with people, and especially when it's really busy, they would ask me to come over and help out. And I was very good at calming patients down if required, or de-escalating them even if required as well too. But so I came over and I said to the young lady, I said, "Listen, can I bring you over here and speak with you, and we'll get you looked after as soon as we can, okay?" Okay. And she's like, "No, I need to be seen now." And I like, but she got up and she responded and she came with me and I sat her in the corner of a large waiting room where there was a few chairs and it wasn't that busy. It was semi-private, so private. And I said to her, "So what's going on with you?" And she said, oh my gosh, it's like I have this infection in my finger." And I said, "Yeah, but it's a little small cuticle infection that you said just showed up today. So it hasn't even been a while. It's just been newly infected." And she said, "Yeah, but no, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And I went, "But okay, can I ask you something?" And she said, well, yeah, in tears, upset, scared. And I thought, oh my goodness, this poor girl. And what she said to me and shared with me in that moment was my heart dropped. She said to me that, "Yeah, I don't want to die like my mother did." And I went, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss." And she said, "Yeah, well, a month ago, my mom, she had an infection in her nail, in her toe, in her foot. And she let it go for a little bit, yes, but it was only a small infection and it was supposed to be a minor operation. And she went into hospital and she passed. Oh my God, and I don't want to die either." And I felt for this young lady. And I said, "Okay, I promise you that we will do our best. We will look after you. Okay? Can you sit here for a few minutes? And I will go talk to the doctor and see if she can maybe, bump you up a little bit sooner and talk to you about what needs to happen next. Okay? Is that all right? Are you okay with that? Will you sit here and wait for me? Promise?" And she said, okay. Please, I don't want to die." And I said, "You won't. You'll be okay. All right?" So I left her there for a few seconds. I went and tracked down the doctor in the area that she was about to go to. Now, normally it would have been a lengthy wait, because of her having something what people deemed and looked at as trivial, right? It was a cuticle infection on her finger. And because it was busy and because there was some seriously sick people that were about to see the triage nurse, she of course was quick with her and justified. Not intentionally upsetting her or angering her at all. She just, looked at, oh my gosh, it's a cuticle infection. You'll be fine. You could have went to your family doctor and your family doctor could have helped you. Well, then she went off and she got angry and no, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. But what had happened was she didn't share with the nurse that her mother had died of an infection. She shared that with me after the fact. So I went and told the doctor what had happened and the way things played out. And the doctor, who's an amazing, amazing doctor, said, okay, when I'm done with this patient, I will come out and quickly talk to her. And then I will come and deal with her quickly, but as quick as I can. But I will at least console her and talk to her, and hopefully that'll make her feel better. Now, she'd also mentioned that her father was on the way to the hospital too, and wasn't there yet, so she was alone, right? So I went back and I told the young lady that the doctor's going to come see you very quickly, which is unusual because it's a busy, busy place, right? Nobody's supposed to jump the line, okay? And it's not that you're not important, you are. She will come to see you as soon as she can, okay? Now, I then said to her, can I leave you here? Because I told the doctor where you were, so you can't leave. You have to sit here and wait for the doctor to show up, okay? And she went, yes, okay. And I made her promise again that she would stay there. So she did. Now, I went back and I also shared with the nurse that she was behaving the way she was because of the loss of her mother and that it was an infection in her foot that she lost her mother with. And the nurse went, oh my gosh, I couldn't get her to answer any of my questions. And it's okay. It's not your fault. I got to the bottom of it because I had time to spend with her. You didn't. You're busy. That's what teamwork is all about. And she said, oh, thank you again, Colin. Thanks for letting me know that. So what had happened was the doctor had saw the patient prior to me getting back for the second time and making sure she was okay, and told the young lady that she was going to bring her into a room, look after her infection, and there would be a follow-up booked for her as well too to make sure that she's okay. And that's all the girl needed to hear. Now, here it is, the father showed up. She's sitting in a room waiting to be seen by the doctor. As I arrived and introduced myself to the father and the daughter, and the father had calmed her down quite a bit. The nurse arrived, the doctor arrived and came in and looked after her and said, okay, I'm going to have the nurse come in because it's busy, 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 and she is going to look after your finger, I promise, and I promise you will be okay. And I also will book a follow-up for you to make sure you were okay. Are you okay with that? And the young lady went, oh, yes, of course I am. And the dad went, oh, thank you very much, doctor. Thank you. Well, the nurse came in, put some peroxide on it and bandaged her up and said that she'll be fine. And just before I left, the nurse was now on break. Was doing the triaging earlier and came in and said, listen, can I give you a hug? I apologize for being quick with you, but it was a busy, busy place, and I made a really, really big assumption that it was only a little cuticle infection and that you would be okay. And there was other patients I had deemed after you that I felt were sicker. But in actuality, I should have been a little more patient with you, and I apologize for that. And the girl had said, no, I apologize for acting the way I did, and I shouldn't have. And the dad said, I thank you so, so much. I thank you, Colin, and I thank you as well. And the doctor was amazing, and what a great hospital this is. I thank you very much. And off they went, happy. And I'd found out from the doctor a couple of days later that she had a follow-up call with her, and the patient was fine, and she was okay and back to work. All right, so Now, let's break this down and look at this and be a little more specific around what I want you guys to sort of look at. That we can be busy. We can overlook things, not intentionally. We can make an assumption, which is okay, that there is nothing wrong with that person that's in front of us. They will be fine. You might even think to yourself internally that, oh my goodness, it's only a cuticle infection and this girl's behaving this way. Oh my gosh. But what I want you to look at is that it was a team effort. I had time to spend with her and find out and get to the bottom of the reasons for her acting the way she was. All right? Yes, the nurse made an assumption, and assumptions are fine. But what happens is that we don't have time sometimes. Maybe we have to get back to that patient, after the fact and say, hey, I'm glad you're okay. And I'm glad that things worked out for you. But what needs to happen is that if we make an assumption, there always needs to be questions after the fact. There needs to be questions around that assumption that you made. Because an assumption is just that. It is a starting point to find out what is actually going on. And the way that we question them is what's important, right then and there. If I question them and ask them what's going on with them, what happened, what's the reasons for you acting this way, I might get a little bit of storytelling and I might get a little bit of a lengthy session with them. But at the end of the day, I'm showing compassion and care and concern. Not that the nurse wasn't. She was. But she had to be quick because of patients that were after her that were very sick too. Now, the girl felt like she wasn't being looked after, but of course she was. But the nurse, knowing me, had said, Colin, can you help this young lady? So I did. I got to the bottom of it, shared it with everybody, the doctor included. The doctor looked after her. She felt that she was looked after. And it all came from making an assumption that there needed to be more questions around. So what I would like people to look at is look in the mirror and realize and look at, and there's many examples of how we've made assumptions about somebody or about a situation or about something that's going on in front of us. And it can be right a lot of the times when we make those assumptions. But what I'm saying is that those assumptions need to be followed up with fact-seeking questions. Questions that will give me the real story as to what is going on. That way, and only then, will I know how to deal with that issue that's in front of me. Thank you. Bye for now.